But it's well demonstrated, there's no question, I mean, it's accepted that in infinitesimally small doses it produces significant brain disruption. It collects in the brain and stays there a lifetime. For instance, a child in the past was given 36 vaccines, most of which contain mercury. Each one of those doses accumulated in the brain for a lifetime, plus whatever they ate, whatever they breathed in the air, whatever was in their food was added to it. This was totally ignored. All of this stuff you hear about, well, we proved that vaccines, mercury has no relation to disease, is an absolute lie, and they know it. It's in the scientific literature. I write about it. It's in my articles on my website. I've published a number of articles on this. All the references are there. So they know it. They know all of these things.
Well, Doctor, let me ask you a layman's question and then go in other directions about this upcoming shot and what this Guillain-Barré's is, compared to the ALS and the other things you were talking about. And all these new neurodegenerative diseases that I guess give the brain doctors a lot of work, but is really being generated by this and other environmental factors that you were discussing. When you've engaged in brain surgeries, when you've done slides of tissue or biopsies, I've seen, just as a layman in medical journals, the incredible heavy metal plaques, the other plaques that are involved. Can you ever even say in an older person's brain that's had a large diet of heavy metals or worked in toxic factories or had a lot of shots, can you even see that in slides with the naked eye? Or what does it look like under a magnifying glass or under a microscope?
Well, you don't see the metals directly, but you see the results of the metal. And, of course, they carefully measure these metal contents in the different parts of the brain and demonstrated, for instance, in Alzheimer's disease, there's a significant elevation of mercury in the part of the brain affected. In Alzheimer's patients, they also have higher blood mercury levels than the population without the disorder. So most of these things have been carefully confirmed and measured. The aluminum content of the brain has been measured. And what aluminum does in the brain has been demonstrated quite clearly. So, yes, you could see the pathology in the brain produced by this. And, in fact, they even radio-labeled the aluminum in vaccine and traced it going from the site of the injection in the muscle into the brain. So we know that the aluminum from the vaccine ends up in the brain. So you can't argue about that. That's in the PubMed medical journals and quite well demonstrated. So the evidence is there in just enormous amounts. It's just being ignored, and the media is in a state of confusion. They're listening to the people who are selling this stuff, and they won't listen to those of us who have researched it carefully. Now, about your neurological diseases, I will wager if they do what they're planning on doing, you will see tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of cases of Guillain-Barré and other neurological damage in pregnant women. Their children are going to be damaged. The children are going to be damaged because they're planning on vaccinating babies with this stuff. And they even asked them, what do you think the effect will be of giving free vaccines? Let me give you his answer to that question. We don't know. That's the beginning of his answer. We don't know what it'll do. We don't know what happens when you combine vaccines with different viruses in it. Well, the virologists know. The viruses start exchanging their genetics. They develop hybrids. They develop new viruses that produce new diseases. So he's lying. And all of this nonsense, the big scare is coming. Of course, there's not many people dead in the world. This has been a pretty mild flu. They asked him, well, if the virus is mutating, what good will the vaccine do? And he says, we've been checking the molecular and genetic makeup of these viruses all over the world. It has not changed one bit. Well, they're planning on giving the vaccine to 4.9 billion people worldwide. They have been caught in the past giving vaccines that were specifically designed to produce infertility in African women. The women caught on, wouldn't take the vaccine. They tested the vaccine and found out they had put anti-trophoblastic antigen in it with a specific goal of producing literature going back all the way to 1910. This has been an obsession with the Rockefeller Carnegie Group, is control of population growth and to reduce the population of the world. Who was the great funder of molecular science throughout history and all the way up to the present day is the Rockefeller Foundation and the Carnegie Foundation and now the Ford Foundation. So you have major foundations worth hundreds of billions of dollars that have been pouring their money into the science with that goal in mind. They're eugenicists. And as I said in one of your other programs, if you read Lily Kay's book on the history of molecular science, she specifically says that was always their goal, social engineering and control of population. So I'm not surprised that they would use the vaccine on 4.9 billion people worldwide with that goal in mind. You know, and a lot of people are catching on. A third of the nurses in Britain said they won't take the vaccine. More and more people are concerned about this. And we haven't even covered some of the major things like the contamination with cancer-causing viruses, unknown viruses, neurotropic cell viruses. All of this is talked about in the closed meeting among virologists, but the general public has no clue as to the occurrence of all of this.
3.5 minutes left, Dr. Blaylock. In closing, they're talking about martial law, forced inoculations. The Governors Association has sent a letter saying we don't want to be under DOD control. They're announcing 400,000 troops to now occupy. That's the Hill newspaper, NAP. And then, as you said, the cancer viruses, all the other areas. I mean, this is insane. Your comments on that?
Well, yeah. I mean, according to the World Health Organization, we come under IHR 2500, which says that they have the legal right to control the response to public health emergencies in the United States of America. So we are signatories to that, and therefore they have the right to carry out any measures they want and to recommend to our government what measures need to be taken on a state level. Well, all the plans have been worked out, as you say. They're using the excuse of the troops and the response of the military as to control riots of people who want to get the vaccine, which I thought was rather humorous, rather than being the other way around as people who don't want to get it.
Well said.
And
what about the cancer virus angle? Go ahead.
Well, yeah, there's Dr. Martin, who is a virologist and does a lot of research in this area, and he's discovered what is stealth viruses, which is now a lot of research around the world on stealth viruses. But these are viruses that are not picked up by routine testing. It takes very meticulous testing to demonstrate it. But these vaccines are filled with stealth viruses that can produce brain disorders decades after you've been injected, or cancer. There's cancer-causing viruses that are known inside of these vaccines. Many of these viruses aren't even tested for, and they allow Novartis, the main vaccine people, to be the ones who's going to determine how it's tested. They're not even tested by outside agencies. So there's a great deal of danger involved here.
Do you think the establishment's going to get away with this? I mean, as you said earlier, it looks like people everywhere are waking up, but these eugenicists are just so bold.
Well, they are, but, with the town hall meetings, they've seen how the public can react against these things, and I think it'll take a reaction like that to